Hello, and welcome to my living room. I'm Kathleen Hershner. When I saw the name of my next guest, I thought to myself, where is this woman from? Is she Spanish? Is she from Eastern Europe? And she is going to tell us all now about her past. She actually is Spanish, but your name, Olga Jans, sounds like you're from Sweden or somewhere in the Eastern Europe area. And you were telling me that your father was Belgian.
That's right. He was born in Belgium.
Yeah.
And he's Belgian, so...
Do you speak French?
I do, yes.
Did you spend any time in Belgium when you were growing up?
Just 5 or 6 days when I was 6 years old, so I don't really remember anything.
Is your mom Spanish?
Uh-huh. From the north of
Wasn't
Spain.
Audrey Hepburn was she from Belgium or was she from the Netherlands?
Was she? I have no idea.
Because you have kind of the same facial structure that she had.
Do I really?
Yeah.
I had never been told.
Yeah, I think she was Dutch. But I remember when I was a kid, I was amazed because we always thought she was English because she had an English accent. So how did you find out about this program? I think you told me before we came on the air that you don't know anything about me, and I said, good, better for you.
Okay. I met Richard Vaughan, and I go to his program on Wednesdays.
On the radio?
On the radio. And then Alberto Alonso sent an email saying that they needed people for your program.
That's right.
That's how I ended up here.
Well, welcome. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
And we have a lot to discover about each other because even though I read the answers to our questions on the formulario, the thing that I remember most about you is your name and the fact that you had very precise answers. And I sat down when I met you and I said, I think you're a perfectionist. And you said, oh, you're a psychologist too. And I said, well, not really. Are you actually a perfectionist? Do you have a perfectionistic personality?
100%.
It's funny because I've interviewed hundreds, and if not thousands of people in the past few years. And it's amazing what kind of information you can ascertain or pick up by reading someone's writing or the answers to their questions. And I thought, she has very precise answers. She's very positive. You have like you have a positive way of thinking. You have 2 children.
That's right.
And you said, I think in your answers, that they are the greatest thing in your world, like all mothers.
Any mother would say that, I'm sure.
And, well, mine wouldn't. Mine did not.
Yours wouldn't?
No, mine did not.
You're kidding.
No, she may have thought that, but she did not share that. No, she was from a different era, and American as well. But no, I never felt like my mom was going around saying, oh, my children, you know, they're the greatest thing in the world.
Really?
I know she felt that way. So how old are your kids?
Isaac is 11 and Eva is 8. I had them quite late.
What do you mean quite late? You're very young still.
No way. I'm 49.
Really?
And I had Isaac when I was 38.
You look great, though.
Oh,
I don't
thank
think
you.
38's that late, really, is it?
For a Spanish woman,
Is it?
sort of
But
late.
biologically speaking, that's not
Well, it wasn't
unheard of.
late for me because I had a great pregnancy and they were healthy. So it wasn't late, but I wish I had started earlier so I could have had time for more children.
Well, on the other hand, I have friends who've had children later in life, one who had a child at 40, 41. And it does keep you young, I think. You have to stay on your toes.
Oh, it definitely does.
You know, I mean, so you could say, well, if I was younger, I could have spent more time, but you'll probably live a long life and you'll probably always seem a bit younger than you are because you don't seem 49.
Oh,
so whatever they're doing.
Maybe the makeup.
Well, yeah, we do have...
Makeup helps.
We do have a little bit of assistance every morning.
Right.
Because I walked in this morning and I took a look at myself in the mirror beforehand. I thought, oh, my God. Well, I mean, I guess I can share this without being too personal. I have younger boyfriends that are younger than me. I think maybe younger people are attracted to me because they think I'm younger than I am.
Good.
And I am, yeah, very good. Yes, we like that. But I think that the benefit, well, there's a benefit and a drawback. The drawback is it makes me nervous because I know that I have to really make an effort to look as good as I can, to take care of myself. But on the other hand, you know, it's kind of fun because it does keep me, I don't know, feeling more youthful, I guess.
It does.
Think of how different women were in Spain, in the United States, 40 years ago when they were our age.
Oh, they looked older.
They dressed differently. I mean,
Right.
they looked, I guess, in my opinion, I think they looked about 15 years older at our age than we do now. People know more about diet as well.
Right.
You look like you take care of yourself.
I do.
Do you work out a lot?
Some. I should go to the gym more often, but I try to, yes, to lead an active life.
Yeah. What do you do here in Spain? Do you work?
No, I don't.
Lucky you.
No.
Well, you have kids, so you're probably able to give as
Yeah.
much time as you can to them.
Well, I'm quite fortunate because I have time to do the things I like because my husband supports the family correctly. So
Good man.
Good man. So yes, I can enjoy my kids and I enjoy my house and I do things that I really like to do, like reading or being here right now or going to the gym. It's a very pleasant life.
I think that was the fantasy that I had when I got married years and years ago. It's been, I think, 2 decades ago, I mean, a long time ago. I was very young. But I think I had this sort of idea that because my husband had a good job and made a reasonable amount of money, that I was going to be able to do whatever I wanted. Like, as long as he was happy,
Right.
and I was, making sure that everything was taken care of that was part of my, that were part of my duties, that he'd be all right with that. But that was not the case.
How
Right
come?
now, because right after we got married, he goes, so, what are you going to do?
Really?
Yeah.
Did he say that to you?
And I was between jobs because when I got married, it was ending one job and I was trying to decide which direction I was going in, and then we were going to move. And he actually said that to me. And I have to tell you, that was the beginning of the end of the marriage.
Really?
It was
Did that make you feel bad?
It not only made me feel bad, it made me feel mad, and it made me feel like I had made a huge mistake.
Really?
Just like that.
Immediately?
It was visceral.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God.
What have I
have
done?
made an incredible mistake.
Uh-huh.
And I had only been married like 2 months, 3 months at that point.
But hadn't you spoken about that beforehand?
No.
What he expected?
No, because I didn't think that it was going to be an issue. I mean, like a lot of people, when they get married, they kind of think, maybe this is more true with men, but I think women are also guilty of this. They get married and they think, aha, I've done it now. I caught the bird,
Right,
got the prize, and now
right.
we can just sort of relax and And it doesn't work that way.
Oh, it does.
But I think it was a shock. It was a shock. And I remember talking to one of my friends and she said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I really don't know what to do. So I didn't do anything for 5 years. I know.
And what did he say to you?
What about
not having a job?
I got a job very quickly.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah, because he was, quite militant.
Really?
About this. Yes, I went to work as a waitress because he was so concerned about it.
Although you didn't
I hope he never sees this program because I could really say some damaging information. Wow. But I won't.
But did he earn enough money for both of you
Oh,
to
absolutely.
live comfortably?
Absolutely.
Oh, so you wish he had said, honey, have a beautiful life, do what you like.
If you're happy, I'm happy. No, this was not part of his mentality.
Oh, too bad.
And I wasn't trying to be spoiled. I'd worked quite a bit up to that point. But you know what, Olga, in retrospect, this is the first time I've talked about it with any guest.
Oh.
Actually, it was a benefit to me because I became very dependent. And that
Which you weren't before.
I was, but I became independent in a different way. I became independent of my relationship with him.
Okay.
So that was good.
Oh, it definitely
And
was.
it helped me move on. So, but I'm guessing that you sound like you have a pretty nice, happy life. And I could tell by reading the way you were writing, I thought this woman is like really quite satisfied with her situation. Has it always been that way for you? Or have you gone through periods of, like your ups and downs like everybody else?
I've been pretty stable all my life, although if I have to point out a particular time when I was less happy than now, I would say my teenage years. I wasn't so sure of what I wanted.
That's pretty normal, though, don't you? Were you a teenager here in Madrid or in Belgium?
In Madrid. I've lived in Spain all my life.
Oh, really? Okay.
I was born and raised here. But I've always been pretty happy, although right now I'm living at a particularly happy point of my life.
Isn't that nice when you get to have an unexpected, revelation where you get to a point in your life and you're just like, you know what? For some reason, I've just decided to be happy.
Right.
I've made a conscious decision. That happened to me last year.
Really?
Yeah. I just decided, through no special event, but I was going through some turmoil. I just said, well, wait a minute. Life is short. and I'm wasting my time, and I'm going to be happy.
That's great. That sounds like somebody else in America, a housewife who has become very well known through a happiness project, and she said that she had that epiphany where she said, life is short, I have to be happy now, today, so I'm starting today.
Really?
What is her name? She has become #1. She has a bestseller called The Happiness Project that I'm reading, actually.
Is she that woman that wrote Eat, Pray, Love, or that book that was so famous, like a bestseller?
I'm not sure whether she wrote...
I don't know. Elizabeth somebody?
No, I wish I remembered.
You know, I am so not tuned into American culture. I mean, other than when I watch like the news or something on BBC or CNN, but I don't know who she would be. But that must not be a unique experience if I'm feeling it. And you know, a lot of my friends have gotten to this point in life where you just wake up one day and you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna let it go. All the things that have bothered me up to this point, because, you know, you just waste your life. So,
have you succeeded?
Yes.
Do you feel happier?
Yes, absolutely.
But did it happen like that?
Yes.
That's great.
It happened really quickly.
Wow, that's great.
Well, I can't explain it. There's no magic potion. I think it proves that your mind controls your emotional state, not the other way around.
That's right. So they say. It seems to work.
I think it worked for me. Yeah. But it took me a long time to get there. I mean, you know, you should have seen me 10 years ago. I was, you know, not very emotionally balanced.
Is that right?
I don't think so. I didn't feel that way, but yeah, I'm quite happy.
Good.
You know, I live in Spain, and I have got a great job, and I don't have to deal with the situation with my family. Like if my family has problems, hey, I'm living over here in Spain. I can't, you know, I know that's terrible.
No.
Spaniards, I think, are very close and much more dedicated to family.
Well, I suppose many people we all have our inner problems, but people don't talk about them, feeling that people may look at them under a worse light or something.
Well, I think Spanish people, and I only know the Spanish people I've known since I've lived here, but my Spanish friends are much less willing to share bad news with you, or they don't like talking so much about the problems that they're going through in their families until they get to know you better. Whereas an American will start telling you everything that's wrong from day one, and you're like,
you are right.
Yeah,
with my American friends, it struck me how openly they spoke about their problems, which to me were very intimate, but I very much appreciated
Did you like?
honesty.
See, a lot of people don't like that.
Oh, I loved it. It made me feel so relaxed from the very beginning. They were honest. They weren't trying to give an impression. They said, I've been abused sexually, or something that I would have only said.
Oh my God.
I mean it.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, I'm in shock. And they are telling me, and they've hardly known me for a day or two.
Americans are very matter-of-fact about personal details.
I love that.
Well, I like it. It works for me, but I have had some Spanish friends of mine say, you know, Kathleen, you have a tendency to share too much information too quickly. And I was like, you know, I understood that, their point. I was not offended by that. But yeah, we call it self-disclosure in the United States, and Americans are prone to it, which is probably why we have so many talk shows, and, you know, everybody's sharing, you know, I was abused by a priest when I was 5, and you've just met.
I know.
Now, you spent some time, I think, in England, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Because you have an English accent, a beautiful English accent when you speak
Would
English.
you say so?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, thank you. I think it's a mixture. I don't know. I wish I knew what my accent is like, but there's no way for me to know.
Well, it sounds like it could be a little bit American too, which I imagine you spent time there.
Right.
Have you lived in these countries because of your husband's work, or have you lived there on your own?
That was in my single years.
In your past?
In my past, in my distant past.
Well, if you had your children, like you said, later in life, then you probably got married a little bit later.
I got married when I was 26.
Well, that's normal, I think.
But I thought I would never want to have any kids. I was not the motherly type at all, until one day, my biological clock said today, and it had to be that day.
Really?
Like that.
Really? Did you make this announcement to your husband?
Yes.
Like,
yes, I went home.
Guess what?
I went home, but shall I tell you how it happened?
I don't.
Okay.
If you're willing to do it.
Oh, I am. Okay. I was at the hairdresser's, like many other times, having my hair dyed, and while the color was, you know, working, I was just looking around, and I saw a couple with a child that they had taken the child to the hairdressers to have his hair cut. And I looked at them and they looked so happy. To them, that was an occasion. It was probably the first time or something. The child must have been 2 or so. And I looked at them and I thought, how happy they are. That's because they have that child. And I thought, Olga, why don't you have a child? And suddenly I had a shock inside, like my heart began to beat, as if somebody else inside me was telling me what to do. And I knew that one would decide for me. It was very, very weird. But I tried not to think about it. And a few minutes later, I looked around again, and there was a little girl whose eyes were just like mine, and a father with, and I thought, wow, that girl could be mine. She has the same eyes I have. And then at that moment, I knew the decision had been made. I wanted to have a child. So I went home after years of saying no, 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 and I said to my husband, Jose, I said, do you know what? I want to have a child. And he said, what? I said, I mean it. I really want to. And he said, really? I said, tonight. We have to start tonight. Wow. And he's such a saint. I don't know whether you say that in English.
Yes, yes. Well, I think maybe most men would say yes if their wives said, come on, we want to start making a baby tonight. I suppose so. But after 11 years of total refusal, suddenly I had changed my... But I think my husband knows me, and he knows when I make a decision, it's final. There's no... It's irreversible. Yeah. So...
Well,
maybe you had been taking your time, Olga, to come to this decision, and you just weren't admitting it to yourself or consciously listening to your interior dialogue, whatever you want to call it.
Maybe it was that.
Yeah, that's interesting. And it's good that he knows you, because a lot of husbands would say, oh, honey, now wait a minute, for 11 years,
I know.
You said you don't want children. Now what's going to happen if you get pregnant and then you decide that maybe it wasn't really what you wanted? But it sounds like you had a pretty solid relationship with him by that time. You're smart.
What we've known one another since we were 3 years old.
Oh.
So he knows me well.
Get out.
I mean it.
Since you were 3?
Yes, but we only started going out seriously when I was 25.
Oh, well, that's a relief.
I had many boyfriends in between.
Well, that is a really interesting story. I mean, I never wanted children, except for maybe like 1 week a couple of years ago, where it kind of crossed my mind. But because I was already into my 40s, I was like, okay, this is just a kind of a weird thought.
Did you have a stable boyfriend then, or partner?
No, and that was probably part of the reason why I didn't.
Probably.
Just never really. I was never one of the. I was like you. I was never one of these women who really wanted kids.
Right.
And I always thought, or assumed, that maybe someday I would change my mind. If the right man came along, but the right man didn't come along, and so I never changed my mind. But you know what? I'm totally okay with it. I never felt... A lot of women feel a lot of grief or remorse, like, oh, my life, I didn't get to have everything I wanted in life. I'm like, well, yeah, but I have a lot of other things that you can't have if you go down the path of parenthood.
You're totally right.
I don't know, I hope so. Hope I haven't made a mistake.
No, 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 you haven't. I always say, in spite of the fact that I consider having my children one of the best things in my life, I also recognize, and many people may not agree, that a woman who has no desire for kids and doesn't have any kids because she doesn't want to is far better off than those of us that have decided to have kids, because together with the joy comes a lot of worry that you're spared.
Yeah. My mother always said to me that having kids, she said, well, you're going to regret not having children. And I said, why? She goes, well, because what's going to happen when you're old? You're going to be old and alone. I was like, Mom, you're trying to make me afraid. Like, to have kids based on fear. And I said, look at our relationship. You live in the United States. I live in Spain. I'm your only daughter. I'm the one that's closest to you, and yet, how often do you see me?
You see?
Once a year. So there's no guarantee.
Oh, there are many women with children who are very, very lonely in their final years. Their kids
But you won't be like that. You'll be lucky.
I don't know. Nothing is guaranteed, you know. I don't count on anything.
Do your children, Isaac is your son, and what's your daughter's name?
Eva.
Eva. Do they go to an international school? Do they speak English? How are you raising them?
Okay. Ever since I was pregnant, I decided I would speak English to them exclusively, although it's not my native language. So
that's amazing that you would make that decision.
That's because languages are such a thrill to me that I wanted them to feel it like me if I could transmit it to them. So I have spoken English to them ever since they were born, and we speak English to one another.
So English is your language with your children?
That's right.
Even though you're Spanish, they're Spanish, and you live in Spain?
Right.
That is so weird. Now, I can't,
weird.
well, no, I don't mean weird in a bad way. It's weird in a good way.
It's
rare. And I
rare.
can't imagine someone in the United States attempting or succeeding in doing that.
I know.
It'd be like my parents speaking in Spanish with me.
Right.
Living in Kansas. I love that you would do that, though. What does your husband think of this? Does he think it's a bit strange?
He was happy at the beginning, but now he says to me that he's beginning to miss part of our conversations, and that annoys him.
I understand that.
I think the advantages are so obvious that if there's anything really important, I will translate it for him. So, but he's okay. He can pretty much understand.
Well, and you can speak in code.
I know.
To your kids
I could
about
also,
daddy.
But I could also speak in code in Spanish. Men don't understand, even in their own language, if we try to, you know, speak secretly.
That's interesting. Well, so he understands English, but he's not as fluent as you are.
No way.
Wow. Well, you know, I met a couple once. A woman that was on the radio program with me years ago. She was from the Ukraine. And she married an Englishman from Yorkshire, but he was teaching English in Russia, and she was living in Russia. They were living in some city in Russia. And so when they met, they spoke Russian, even though that was not her first language, because Ukrainian is quite a bit different, I guess, and he is an Englishman. But they started speaking in Russian because he loved speaking in Russian so much. He was one of these people like you. You love speaking in English. He loved speaking in Russian. And so when I went over to their house for lunch, I said to her, I go, well, why do you speak English? She spoke English like you do, and he's English. I said, to me that seems odd that you wouldn't speak in English because you're so fluent and it's his native language. And she goes, no. Russian was our language of romance. Oh. Because it was the language that we spoke when we were dating, when we first met each other. And so it became like our mother tongue. Isn't that
How cute.
interesting? But I remember looking at him thinking, that's really odd. Englishman who's so fluent in Russian that he prefers speaking in Russian.
It is odd, yes.
Yeah. Well, you have a very good life, I think. I'd like to be a fly on the wall in your home and see whatever it is that you're doing that's making you so happy, and you seem like such a balanced person, Olga.
I can tell you all about it.
Good. I'm
Afterwards.
going to find out a couple of answers to a couple of questions off the air.
Right.
We don't talk about everything, of course, when we're in my living room. Some of the things are talked about in the kitchen.
Good.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Some people have asked me, they go, are all those stories that you've told on TV from the first season, are all those things true? I said, yeah, I mean, they're all based in truth.
Right.
Now, if I'm telling a story and I start to think that it's a bit boring, I might alter a fact or two.
To make it sound more appealing?
Yeah. I mean, it won't be an outright lie, but maybe you have to change the sequence, the chronological order of something, or you have to kind of perhaps omit certain things. Like I never have told the story about me being so unhappy in the first days of my marriage.
Well, I appreciate very much.
Kind of have like girl talk right off the bat.
Sure.
I'd like to have more of that with you. It's been really nice to meet you.
Very nice meeting you, Kathleen.
And
really
you're
nice.
such a warm and lovely person. I feel quite womanly all of a sudden.
Oh, thank you very much. Same here.
Well, I hope that we stay in touch. And in this day and age, in the age of internet communications,
it's an easy thing to do.
Pretty easy to do, although you'll have to speak in English with me, but that will be no problem.
No problem.
Well, Olga Jans, thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
And thank you for tuning in to another conversation here in my living room. I've enjoyed talking to Olga, and I hope that you've enjoyed listening to us. I'll be back with more interesting guests and fascinating topics very soon. So, adios, ciao, bye-bye.